Okay, you're unmuted. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today for our webinar, which is the Postgraduate Certificate Medical and Health Education. My name is Craig Donaldson, and I'm the course advisor for the course. So hopefully by now, most of you have had some contact with me. And I'm just here today to support the webinar deliverer, Dianne Burns. So I just wanted to give you a quick run through of how the webinar will look today. So in a moment, Dianne will work through a series of slides which will cover a number of topics. My role here is just to facilitate and make sure that, one, you're able to hear us and see us okay. So please do send through any concerns you have if you can't hear us. We do have a chat and questions to come through, which leads me on to the next part of my role as well, which is to take any questions that you have. And as I mentioned, Dianne will run through a series of topics. If at any stage you have any questions that you want to ask, ping them through. I'll jot them down and we'll put Dianne on the spot at the very end, and hopefully she can answer all of those questions. So with that, let me please introduce Dianne. So who's a senior lecturer within the Faculty of Biology, Medicine and Health at the University of Manchester, and as I mentioned is our course director for the Medical and Health PG Cert. So with that, let me hand over.
Hi everyone, hopefully I'm going to go through all of the details around the programme, but first of all I just want to introduce our programme team. I'm delighted actually that we've got a very, very strong team that are delivering the PG Cert this year. Overall, one of our strengths of the programme is that we've got a team that's very friendly and approachable, but we've got a combined multidisciplinary and very extensive experience amongst the team. So we've got clinicians and highly experienced educators. So together, I think we're able to deliver a really good, strong programme. So one of the strengths of the programme is that we are seeking to develop healthcare educators who are transformational in their approach. And one of the unique selling points of this programme is that it's an opportunity to engage with people across the world or across the globe, so other people that are working as educators in a variety of settings, but in a variety of different countries and cultures. So that's one of our unique selling points. And I guess one of the key things is that this programme is very flexible. So because it's completely online, the materials are there for you to access at any time. You can do this whilst you're working. You can, although it does require 20 hours per week overall, you can do that whenever you like. And a lot of the activities here are asynchronous, so you will get the opportunity to engage with others, but you don't all have to be online at the same time. So that's a really good selling point for us. I think one of the other things is that education is changing. It's no longer that didactic delivery of information. People can find information for themselves. Our job as educators on this particular programme, but overall, is to facilitate learning, is to embed in our learners that desire to want to collaborate and to want to go and find out things for themselves. And in that way, our role as an educator is perhaps a facilitator of learning rather than somebody that's going to deliver knowledge in that way, in that traditional way. So who's the course for? Well, actually, it's for any healthcare professional who's working in a variety of settings. So traditionally, a PG Cert in medical and health education, you might think might focus on medics or doctors, but actually we've made this course much more interprofessional because that is important for our global health workforce. So we're aiming this course at anyone that's working in a healthcare capacity, so doctors, nurses, midwives, pharmacists, clinical psychologists, but people that are allied to healthcare as well, or working in a lab. So there is no real barrier to anyone accessing this course, apart from the desire to be a good educator. I think that's the key thing, that we want people that are interested in education, interested in bettering a learning environment for learners, and so long as you meet that criteria, probably this course is for you. So thinking about what the key drivers are to our course, essentially one of the key drivers is patient safety and the quality of healthcare. So we would argue that perhaps patient safety is inseparable to healthcare learning, and a good learning environment and culture is one of the drivers towards patient safety. We want our learners to be in an environment that's safe, that's providing quality, and that kind of transfers to practice, if you like. We want in this society where healthcare is delivered in a wide variety of settings, the emphasis is going to be in the future on community care, or the delivery of community care, and we need healthcare graduates in the future that can deliver good quality healthcare in a variety of different settings, and that they can address some of those global health issues that we're facing at the minute, so that they can deliver healthcare, good quality healthcare, within a diverse cultural environment and to different organisations and settings. And that's going to be important, and I think one of the other key things that's going to be important is that interprofessional collaboration. The World Health Organization have recognised already that interprofessional collaboration is going to be key, particularly when we're faced with the challenges where we don't have the workforce. We need people to be able to be much more flexible in the way that care is delivered, and have a good understanding of different professions and how that works, and how where the overlap is, and how we can work together much more effectively. So that's going to be really important. Thinking about the different approaches. Medical and healthcare education is expensive, and there's growing pressure on us to be able to meet the needs of academically well-prepared educators in the future, in lots of different ways. That resources aren't infinite. That there's a demand on us to keep those costs down, and to think about the types of educational principles and the approaches that we can use that are evidence-based, that help us manage those resources much more effectively. So our PGCERT in medical and health education it consists of 3 separate units. So in semester 1, each of these units run 10 weeks, and over that 10-week period, we expect participants to contribute around 20 hours of study time. But probably one of the selling points of this course as well is that each of these units will be available individually as CPD. So you might start off taking unit 1 in semester 1, but then life gets in the way, and you might want to put that off and then pick the course up again in semester 3, and that's perfectly possible. As it stands at the minute, we've got 3 20-credit units. The first unit in semester 1, running from September to November, the reflective educator. The second unit running in semester 2, November to February, the art and science of teaching, and in semester 3, February to April, pass or fail, who decides, looking at assessment and feedback issues around education. Each of those units, those 20-credit units, is delivered across 10 weeks and delivered within 4 different elements. And each of those elements run across 2 weeks, and they consist of online learning activities, which includes directed reading, so around 10 hours per week of that. Tutor and peer-led discussion, around 2.5 hours a week. We expect you to participate in discussion boards and engaging with peers on the course. That's one of the strengths of the course, actually, is that we get to speak to educators across the world in lots of different centres, and gaining an understanding of how education works across those different areas. There's an online tutorial each week, 1 hour per week, and independent reading and other studies, including that formative submission, where you get the opportunity to submit a draft of the work that you've been working towards and get some feedback on that, which is really important. And then in weeks 9 to 10, we work with you and alongside you to prepare your assignment and the submission of that assignment. So 2 hours of online tutorials, some independent study and reading whilst you're preparing that assignment, and there will be the opportunity for masterclasses at an optional cost if that's something that you'd be interested in, and we can talk a little bit more about that shortly. So just a little bit about the course content. As I've said, Unit 1, the Reflective Educator, Unit 2, the Art and Science of Teaching and Learning, and Unit 3, Press or Fail, Who Decides. Each of those 20 credit units is broken down into 4 elements. Each of those elements delivered in over a 2-week period, and each of those elements, the work within those elements, contributes to the overall assessment of around 1,000 words or 1,000 word equivalent. So towards the end of the unit then, in weeks 9 and 10, you will have built up work that you've been working through on those elements to come up with the equivalent of a 4,000 word assignment. But we're trying to be really creative with the way that that we're putting the assignments together, so hopefully they're not being complete all written assignments, because that's not what we're looking for. So just a little bit about more about Unit 1. Participants will be introduced to the current theoretical frameworks which are used to underpin effective practice, teaching, learning, assessment and evaluation. So it's a real introduction and getting you to think about you as an educator rather than probably how we all see ourselves at the beginning of our careers or within our careers as clinicians. We see ourselves primarily as a clinician, and this unit is about getting you to think about your role as an educator. So becoming that reflective educator, recognising that learning takes place in a lot of different environments, and your role as that facilitator of education and how that works. Principles and the underpinning theory around educational practice, particularly adult learning theory, and exploring what it means to be critically reflective as opposed to reflection. So that's a really good starting unit, and I believe that there'll be another webinar talking about that unit in much more detail later on in the year, but that starts us off really well in terms of how we think we want to be as an educator and what we want to achieve. And then Unit 2, the Art and Science of Teaching, very much focuses on the practicalities of teaching and how we deliver our teaching, how we build curricula, how we design our teaching strategies and methodologies, and the underpinning evidence that supports that, the literature that supports that. And we're going to look at how that links together in terms of interprofessional education rather than specifically focusing on different professions, thinking about how we might facilitate interprofessional learning in a much more organised way. And then Unit 3, Assessment and Feedback, looking particularly at what meaningful assessment has and how that influences learning. So learning or assessment for learning rather than assessment for assessment's sake. So thinking about different methods and directions in assessment, and thinking about formative and summative assessment in particular, looking at the kinds of strategies that we can use for assessment, what the evidence base for those are, and looking how we support learners that are struggling or not, are failing to achieve academically, what we need to put in place to try to help those learners achieve success. So lots of emphasis on that and the mechanisms that we might use to support them in that way. I mentioned earlier about the additional learning opportunities, and we are at the minute pulling together a suite of face-to-face masterclasses that course participants will be able to choose from at additional cost. If you want to further your knowledge and understanding of key concepts, they're not part of the programme, they're just something that we'll offer in addition to those people that want to extend that knowledge further. Possibly be offered at the centres, the global centres that University of Manchester have, that I'll talk about in a little while, or on campus in Manchester. Probably a mixture of each, and it'll be possible to book on a number or just one, depending on what your interests are. So that's something that we're looking at supporting the programme with as well. That's additional. That is kind of a value-added factor, if you like. Yeah. Just got some information from one of our alumni. So James was a student on the current blended programme. I'm going to leave you to just read what he had to say about the programme, but I think his thoughts are kind of reflected in what other people have said. Yeah. So you've spoken to people, haven't you, Craig?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to meet with James, and he was actually back in my hometown of Liverpool as well, rather than in Manchester. So that was great. He's working for the University of Manchester there. James couldn't have spoke any more highly of the course. Dianne was very much believed that the way it was delivered, the interaction with peers, with academic staff, was all geared around his work, and it really suited his needs as well. So hopefully, as you can see from what he's mentioned there, that James was a very happy student.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good. I can speak for the team that we've got, and that they are very highly experienced and as educators and clinicians. But one of the things that I will say is they're very approachable and very friendly and keen to help. So I think that's one of the strengths of our programme, is that we've got this community of practice, and it's interprofessional. You know, people are coming from all different professional walks of life to contribute. And I think one of the ethoses of the programme is that, you know, whilst we've got this vast experience, we don't see ourselves as the experts. So one of the ways that transformational theory underpins our practice is that we try to build this community of practice, learning from and with each other, and that's a key philosophy really of our programme, is that we don't stand here and profess to be experts. We're all learning, and probably will till the day we die. Actually, carry on learning. So we're going to be learning from each other as well, and that's a strength, I think, of the programme. So I mentioned the Royal, well, I haven't mentioned the Royal College of Physicians at the minute, but this programme is delivered in collaboration with the Royal College of Physicians of Edinburgh. And as you can see from the slide, they have lots of regional centres where this course will be promoted over 26 countries throughout the world. And that will allow us to provide the quality services to physicians worldwide. And we, of course, have got our own university centres. So the Middle East Centre in Dubai, the China Centre in Shanghai, the Southeast Asia Centre in Singapore, and the centre in Hong Kong. We are hoping that this programme will be delivered across all of those centres, with the possibility, if those centres can facilitate, and if there's enough interest in us coming out and delivering some of those face-to-face masterclasses. So it depends how much interest there is, obviously, and whether that's going to be cost effective. But I know certainly in Dubai there's a lot of interest in that. So we'll be working towards that. But this course will be facilitated in those centres, essentially. And the UK, of course.
Oh, okay.
So over to you, Craig.
Thanks very much, Dianne. Hopefully, everybody, you were able to take some information away from there, from really detailed webinar from Dianne. Then, so to you guys now. So let me just see if we've had any questions come through. It looks like the first one we've had. Do I need a medical even degree to study on the course? What are the entry requirements? What are we normally looking for?
Okay, so we're looking for anyone that's got a professional qualification, essentially, and desirably at degree level. So anyone that's got a qualification a professional qualification that's working in a professional capacity, who's got an interest in education. It doesn't have to be a medical degree. It might be a nursing degree, it might be a midwifery degree, it might be a speech and language therapy degree, it might be a psychology degree. It really doesn't matter. So long as you've got that degree, so you've got that basic qualification, and you're interested in education and teaching others. I think we teach people in a variety of different settings, and you know, we are not wanting to be exclusive to medics or nurses, but actually when we think about that interprofessional team, that includes a whole host of different professions, and we're not looking to be, we're looking to be highly inclusive of those professions.
Looks like we have had another question come through. Well, I'm looking at this, Dianne. I've actually had a question that had come through to me earlier anyway. How long or when can I join the course? So when is the first entry date for the course? And is it the same for if I wanted to study CPD modules as well? That was one question I'd had earlier just while I'm pulling.
So the way that this programme works, the starting point of the programme, it starts in September, but you can join the programme at the beginning of it, either of those 3 units. So you might start in September, you might start in November, and you might start in February. It really doesn't matter. I think one of the key things that I would stress as a programme director is that I wouldn't wait until September to apply. So we've got places, but we've not got an infinite amount of places. And I know some people think, oh well, I'll wait until I'm in post before I apply in September, so I might wait until August before I apply, or I might wait until the start of the course. I think it's better to apply early. I think we've had a lot of interest in the programme already, and the way that the admissions process works and what we've agreed is that we won't wait until there's a bulk of applicants, so we'll accept people if they meet the criteria as we go along, and once those places are full, they're full. So it won't be a case of us selecting the best out of 100 there. We will offer places to people if they meet the criteria as they apply. So if you're in a position to apply earlier, I would suggest applying earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Just seeing another question. Time. Like in the evening, I work full time. That was another question. So yeah, it goes back to earlier about how many hours I think you mentioned.
I think as long as you manage to be able to get the 20 hours in each week, then you won't fall behind, and it's completely up to you when you do that. So apart from the online tutorials that you might want to access at that particular time that they're running, although we will be recording those so that you can access them asynchronously. You can do this entirely in your own time. So because it's so flexible and it's completely online, you can complete as and when you want, essentially.
We just had one question about the costs. I think we just kind of skipped over that slide.
Okay.
Yeah, it may have been on.
So the total cost of the programme is 3,600. I think it works out at around 1,200 per unit. And you can access that as each unit if you like. So you can register on one unit, and then when you get more money you can register on the other. There's just a time scale that you need to have completed the programme as it stands at the minute by. So at the minute you can do what we're classing as the PG cert over 1, 2 or 3 years. So if it's over 3 years you do a unit per year. If it's over 2 years, you do 2 units 1 year and then 1 unit the next.
That's better now. I can.
Something about whether you can do this if you work in a lab. So yes, as I've said, you know, it's open to anyone with whatever environment they work in. You don't have to be a clinician. You can be a scientist working in a lab, for example, as long as that you're interested in teaching people. You don't have to be clinically focused. Yeah.
So, yeah, how much does it cost? That was one of those you mentioned. Yeah, so there's obviously a CPD cost.
So the CPD cost is 1,200 per unit, and the total cost of the PG cert, the first year, is 3,600 in total. And you can register for the year, the PG cert, or you can register for each of those units individually if that suits you better. We are hoping in the future to be able to extend this further. Once we've launched the PG cert, we are hoping that there'll be opportunities to add to that, so that eventually people will be able to come out with a PG dip or an MSc. Now, what we're not quite sure about at the moment is whether that'll be blended for years 2 and 3, or whether it'll be completely online. But there are plans in place for that to happen, so that is undergoing development at the minute.
Another question we've had as well, around work experience as well. Do we consider that in the entry requirements when making a decision? So obviously people discussing what they've done in a professional capacity.
Yeah, so I think primarily we want you to be in a position where you're educating or influencing others. But that might be that you've just qualified as a practitioner or someone in the lab, but you're mentoring other people. Oh, excuse me, sneeze there. Thank you. Yeah, as long as you've got an interest in education and you're educating people in that capacity, whether you're mentoring other people, whether you've got students alongside you, or you're teaching colleagues, that would be fine too.
Good question come from regarding programme accreditation.
Okay, so at the minute it's accredited by the Royal College of Physicians Edinburgh and obviously the University of Manchester. So each of those 20 credits, it will be a University of Manchester qualification that you get. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
I don't teach at university. Okay. So yes, this isn't about lecturers in university. This is about people that teach or educate in a variety of settings. So it might be that you are only involved in bedside teaching with medical students, or you only teach students in a lab, or it's not about primarily educating in universities. We do talk about that, but this is much more than that. We're looking at a variety of settings.
So mandatory has come through from Anna.
Can fresh graduates apply? Absolutely. I think what they might struggle with is getting the experience. But I'm guessing that if you're interested in education anyway, you're going to be looking for opportunities to practice what you've learned. So fresh graduates. I mean, my background is in nursing, and we would argue that actually even as senior students, you get involved in the teaching of others. So yes, fresh graduates, as long as they're involved in mentoring or facilitating learning in any capacity, would be more than welcome.
Absolutely. To see, isn't it? Time for applications.
Okay, so the deadline would be probably the week before the course starts. It's really difficult to get applications through and completed in time if they've not been accepted before that week. So I would recommend that as soon as you want to do it, apply. We're not going to keep a bulk of students and then kind of sift out who we think are the best ones. You'll be offered as you apply. So if you meet the criteria, you will be offered a place as you apply.
We've got some great questions come through. The PG certs, do I have to pay the 3,600 up front, or would it be paid per course? I'm going to presume that be paid maybe across the.
I think if you apply for the PG cert, you probably have to pay that up front. If you apply for CPD, you'd probably pay per unit. Yeah, but as the PG cert as it stands, if you apply for the whole programme, I think you'd probably have to pay that at that point. But it might be worth us going back, just having a look to see, and then confirming that. Yeah.
Confirm.
Yeah.
Okay. If I've missed any questions, put you on your programme knowledge. Yeah. So I'm just taking these off. Okay.
We got any more?
Yeah, these are great, coming through all the way to us.
Would I be able to attend a graduate ceremony in Manchester? I think that's more than possible. It might be possible for us to have. I know certainly in one of the centres, they're very interested in having their own graduation ceremony in the centres, and I think that's a possibility too. So I very much depend. I think it very much depends on which of the centres and where in the world that you're going to be completing this programme. But certainly, you would be able to attend a graduation ceremony at Manchester, and it might be that we're able to facilitate graduation ceremonies at the different centres as well. I guess it depends on how much interest we've had. Yeah.
That seems to be all the questions for now, and I think you managed to answer them all, Dianne. So thanks for that. So I'll just move on to our slide again, bringing myself back up again. So there's my contact details on that slide for anybody that that has any other questions, or if you're looking for some help on the application form, please feel free to come back to me. Many of you have looked for direction towards the application form, and that's great. Again, if you have any questions that come through to you after today's presentation, please do either email them through to me, or if they're for Dianne specifically, I'll happily send them across. And hopefully we'll start to receive your applications ASAP. There's a couple of more slides as well, so there you can see Dianne. We've got pictures of the team as well, and some bio that goes with them. I am working through these quite quickly, but you will be sent these anyway. So tomorrow, even though you've attended the webinar today, I will be sending these slides out as well, and a link to watch us back again, which will include the slides, as I've mentioned.
And there's links on the slides to each of those lecturers if you want more details. But I think you'll see when you click on those slides, and when you click on the links particularly, we've got a really highly experienced group of people delivering this programme. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased about that as a course director.
And that brings us to the end. Thank you. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us today. And as I've said, you did see my slides earlier, but contact details will come through if you have any other questions. Thanks so much, Dianne, for giving us your time today. We will send some more information out. Dianne mentioned earlier about some other webinars we have coming up over the next couple of months from Dianne's team. And we will send information out there more specific on particular content in the course as well, so they'll focus on the modules and other information as well. So I will share those details with you. Thanks very much.